Hey guys, back with another episode.
Baptist Boys.
Oh, wow. You jumped in there pretty quick there, didn't you? I was going to say the Matching Boys.
The Baptist Boys.
For those online, Aaron put a jacket on to cover up the fact that we accidentally wore the same shirt to church today. So we're matching.
Can never
we're just
prove
in
it.
sync for this episode.
That's right.
And fitting because this episode we're talking about
Baptist. That's right.
So awesome. Yeah. Aaron, when you hear the word Baptist, what comes to your mind?
John the Baptist.
That's right. So that's where Baptists come from.
Okay.
John.
That's right.
Which means everybody else was wrong. You've been waiting for us to say it. I know the audience has been like, man, they're going through all these different things. They're going to say theirs is the right one, only right one.
Right.
No. Now, what's funny is we are talking about Baptist today, and we're going to talk about three general Baptist faiths that you may or may not be familiar with.
Correct.
Independent Baptist, the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, and the Southern Baptist Convention.
Right.
And we're going to talk about those three with Baptist. Now, Baptist, there's some general things about Baptist that make us Baptist. One is the word Baptist. And we were baptizing people by immersion and baptizing believers. So when you see the word Baptist in
So
the church
what
name,
what's immersion?
underwater.
Thank you.
So Greek word there, baptizo, means to submerge. Like they would say if a ship was sinking, they would say it was being baptized.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different words for sprinkle, there's different words for pour,
Right.
and there's a word for just like to submerge. And that's where you get the word baptized from. So John was nicknamed that.
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist, because he was baptized, he was dunking people into the water.
Right.
And that's where our name come from, Baptist. So Baptist, when you see a Baptist in a church name, you know that they believe,
Full immersion.
99% chance they believe that you dunk people underwater after they have made a profession of faith. So baptism is for believers, and which is a little bit different than the covenantal view that we saw with the Methodists and the Presbyterians, and that you'll see with the Episcopals and Anglicans and Catholics and Orthodox. So it's a little bit different. It's a believer's baptism, you may hear it say. So across the board, you see Baptists, that's the thing that ties them together. Also, Baptists tend to be fiercely independent.
Yes.
In the sense of like not what we're talking about an independent Baptist, but I mean autonomous. So
Right.
with your other denominations, like United Methodist, Presbyterian, Roman Catholic, things like that, they have this hierarchy within their system where they have leaders and things like that that can intervene in the life of a local church.
Right.
Baptists don't work that way. All our churches are very autonomous, and we'll get more into that when we talk about the SBC. It really help you understand what the Southern Baptist Convention is and how it works.
Yeah.
But because
Again,
Baptist churches are autonomous.
again, this is going to be kind of that grand overview, not really specifics on anything, just a grand overview of the different Baptist denominations.
Right. So when we say Baptists are autonomous, that means no two Baptist churches are probably going to be the same. There's going to be a lot of variety within the Baptist faith. Now, whereas if you go to a PCA church, a lot of your PCA churches are going to have a very similar feel and maybe rhythm to them.
Right.
A lot of your United Methodists, your Episcopals, your Anglicans, your Orthodox, your Roman Catholic, they're all going to have this similar because they have this hierarchy down. Baptist churches are going to be different from church to church to church. Now, every now and then you do find churches that, these feel about the same. Some of your Southern Baptist churches will feel a little bit the same, but there's still a wide variety. So Baptists, they put people under the water for baptism for believers, and then they're also autonomous. Those are two big characteristics that separate this particular denomination from other denominations. And if we're being technical, Baptist really isn't a denomination like the other ones because there's not a hierarchy.
Right.
They're technically all non-denominational in the sense that they don't report to
They don't report to a higher,
to a higher
Somebody
power.
else,
So
right.
anyway, with that being said, Independent Baptists. Have you ever been to an Independent Baptist church?
I have.
Do tell.
I grew up in an independent Baptist church where we lived in Houston, in Humble. That's the church we went to.
Humble?
Humble.
Humble.
It's humble, but pronounced humble.
Humble.
Yep, humble. So take away the H, like we do with herbs. Do the same thing. Humble.
It's not herbs.
Nope, that's the way British people say it.
Okay.
Anyway, so we grew up there, and then there was a church right next to where, when we moved here, there's a church next to us that's an independent Baptist that we went to for a couple times, and then we ended up parking ourselves here for for the most part permanently after that. So I've got some reference. Again, I was young, so I don't remember a lot. It was King James, I thought for the longest time that was the only really Bible we should be reading. And then I learned that there were other translations that were just as reliable, if not some being more reliable, as far as historically and with evidence and everything, with the translations and everything. But yeah, so I've got a little bit of that.
Yeah. Now, independent Baptist churches, again, when we say independent, you'll see church signs that say independent fundamental or independent.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Mission.
each church is different, but each church, generically speaking, when you see an independent Baptist church, whether it's independent or independent fundamentalist or whatever, typically you're going to see them, like they're probably going to be using the King James version of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have female pastors.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to typically be hymns only. They're definitely not on the Reform side, like we talked about with the Presbyterians, the 5-Point Calvinists. They're probably very anti-Calvinist. And so you're going to have some of those. Now,
well, and that's the thing is a lot of the times when you are discussing with people like what kind of church you go to and you tell them, I go to a Baptist church, that's the Baptist church they think of. That's what they're thinking. They're like, oh, you don't clap, you don't sing, you don't dance, you don't do none of that. You listen to, you only read out of King James. That's what a lot of people think because movies really popularized that kind of Baptist belief.
Yeah, that version of Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good. Now, within the independent Baptist fundamental groups and things like that, you do have some extremes. Some, but not all. Again, not all of them, because again, they're all autonomous and they're all vastly different, and it can be different from church to church to church. But some of the extremes you're going to have is the King James only movement, meaning that the King James Bible is the only Bible, and it corrects all other Bibles. That it go even as far as to say, some will go as far as to say that Jesus spoke King James English. And so you do have some extremes on that, which is not accurate. You also have some of your snake handling churches that tend to be independent Baptist.
So it sounds cool. It's extremely dangerous.
That's right. And so, side note, I saw a documentary on some of those churches. They do that, handle snakes and how they do that. A lot of them, what they do, what people don't realize is they keep the snakes in a fridge before service. So them being cold-blooded, when the pastor pulls him out, the snake is really calm. And usually the chairman of the deacons takes the snake second. Mm-hmm. And as they pass it into the congregation, the warm hands warm it up and it can move. And it strikes someone and says, see, you didn't have much faith as us. Yeah.
But for real, you saw that?
Yeah, that's a for real thing that happened.
The only thing I saw was the one where the guy was like, look how much faith I have. And the rattlesnake just like bit his face and he died later. Like,
oh, yeah, no, there's a lot of that too. Yeah. But the smart ones, the ones that get older, they refrigerate their snakes beforehand so they're more docile.
That's why we have a fridge.
So that's an extreme, but that's going to be more up in the Appalachian type regions and things like that.
And that's the population of that has really thinned out. Yeah.
And then you have some independent Baptist churches will be very much like women have to have long hair. They have to wear skirts or dresses all the time, no matter what. Not just
separating sides on which they sit inside their congregations and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's more of a Mennonite type thing, but in some extreme independent fundamentalist churches.
You see that with the Anabaptists. Yeah, that's right.
And so, that's a snapshot of independent Baptist. Again, just because it says independent Baptist doesn't mean that they do all those things or any of those things.
Correct.
And so you just got to kind of go church by church because of the autonomy. Then we're going to talk a little bit now about transition to the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. Now, on the two spectrums of Baptist life, when you think of, wow, really rigid, really tight, a lot of rules, to loosey-goosey, independent fundamentalist is on one end, and the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship is on the complete other end. They're a group that broke off in the early 1990s. They broke off from the Southern Baptist Convention because they felt like Southern Baptists were way too conservative. And they became pro-female pastors. Then they eventually became pro-LGBT as well. And so they have a lot of the same Baptist beliefs we do, the Trinity, the gospel, once you're, perseverance of the saints, believers baptism, all those things they hold and they teach.
Mission outsets, missionaries.
That's right. But what they do is they add on to, also we allow female pastors and we're LGBT plus Q plus affirming. Yeah. Not just in membership, but also in clergy. So, they're Baptist, but affirming Baptist.
Yeah.
And funny note, in Memphis, Tennessee, Second Baptist is an affirming, or First Baptist Memphis is a church, and they have a sign out front, or CBF, that says a new way to be Baptist. And they have the rainbow flags and everything out there. So yeah, Water River Baptist Fellowship, they broke off. Again, a lot of the same Baptist beliefs that we would have as Southern Baptists, except they just add, hey, no, there can be female pastors and LGBT plus Q plus. I don't know.
You're doing really good with that.
No, I'm not. But they're all pro that. Gender identity stuff, fluidity. They're going to be embracing that. A lot like the Episcopals.
Socially embracing, yeah.
Yeah. And so you're going to see some of that. And we don't have very many CBF churches around here. First Baptist Murfreesboro is a CBF. First Baptist Chattanooga, I believe, is one as well. So there are some in our vicinity that are close enough that people have probably passed by before.
Yeah.
But, all right. And then we'll spend a little bit more time on the Southern Baptist Convention because that's what we are, and it's the right one. So, I'm just kidding. It's a joke, guys. So, with Southern Baptist Convention, yes, Baptist, but we're autonomous. And so this is where people get confused. The Southern Baptist Convention technically only exists 2 days a year.
Right.
During the convention in June, when they are holding the business meeting. And the business meeting is made up of messengers. Messengers are representatives from each church that is cooperating within the Southern Baptist Convention. So if you give money to the cooperative program, then you get messengers at the convention. So our church is allowed so many messengers based on membership and things like that. You get so many messengers, and you can go, and then you can vote on what the Southern Baptist Convention believes, what they do, what they want to do. And then the Southern Baptist Convention closes.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the year, the Southern Baptists have an executive board that carries out the wishes of the messengers from the Southern Baptist Convention throughout the year. The executive committee makes sure those things happen. We have different entities. Again, all these entities are autonomous and they don't report to one another. So you have the International Mission Board. That's an entity.
Yep.
Southern Baptist Convention kind of decides on them as well. And then you have North American Mission Board, NAM, which we make decisions about at Southern Baptist Convention, but then NAM carries those things out throughout the year. But IMB, NAM, the executive committee, our 6 seminaries that we have, the ethics, religious liberty, all those entities are autonomous. They're different. So in this fix that one does not report to another. They each have their own board of trustees that oversees their day-to-day work. And so in that, and the churches are autonomous, which meaning that our church, the SBC, can't require us to do anything as a church.
Correct.
They have no say-so in what we do.
Right.
Now, what they can say is like, look, based on your beliefs and how you operate, you don't fit within our statement of faith. And so we just don't think in good faith that you can cooperate with these other churches, and they will remove you. So we've had churches removed from the Southern Baptist Convention, but it wasn't because they came in and said, hey, we're going to tell you what to do as a church. It was like, hey, your church is just not compatible with the general consensus of the other churches of what we believe is basic doctrines. And so you need to, we're just not going to partner with you anymore.
Yeah, and the flip goes too. If a Southern Baptist church sees the SBC changing something in their statement of faith or doing something that they believe is not cooperative to what they believe, they're allowed to leave the SBC as well. They can stop giving money. They can remove all that stuff that tied them to the SBC, and without penalty. They don't own our property. They don't own anything like that. The church that we sit in is the church that we sit in. We are stewards of it. We are the ones who take care of it, not the SBC. And then it's kind of the same thing going all the way down to state conventions, all the way down to our local associations, in which we're part of the Duck River Baptist Association. We don't have to be part of them.
Nope.
But the benefit of being part of an association or conventions of Tennessee or the Southern Baptist, the National Convention, is that it's a partnership of churches that all believe generally the same and have faith generally the same. Now there are some, we'll talk about that in a little bit, where some of the differences are between those churches and how they run their churches and things like that. But we're not tied to them. If I go into the SBC, I'm freely allowed to leave without penalty. If I go into the Tennessee Baptist Mission Board, I'm freely allowed to leave without penalty. If I go into Duck River Baptist Association, I'm freely allowed to leave. You do lose benefits, though. You lose the cooperation of other churches helping you and coming along, the free resources, the amount of resources you've got. Going to the Southern Baptist Convention with Jason and on behalf of our church a couple times, I can't even tell you how much resources we've been able to just pick up just from going to classes that they've offered there, or the resource booths at the exposition or the exhibition center.
Exhibit.
Thank you. Exhibit hall. It's been great reading materials, class materials, teaching materials, everything.
Right. And so as Southern Baptist Convention, what our church does, we partner with other like-minded churches for missions and things like that. Like the International Mission Board, for example. Because of all our churches individually pulling our money together,
Correct.
we support
Through the cooperative program.
Through the cooperative, we support over 3,000 full-time missionaries around the world.
Correct.
Now, our church alone could never support that. We don't even have the budget to support one missionary family full-time, year-round. And so, but we get to be a part of supporting missionaries because we give the Lottie Moon Christmas offering, we give the cooperative program, and that money goes to missionaries and supports missionaries. So we are playing a part in supporting missionaries around the world and through NAM, the North American Mission Board, church planters, and all that kind of stuff in Canada, United States, Mexico, and all those places. And so there is an advantage of cooperating together, but just so you are reminded, it's not a hierarchy, though. We don't report to anybody outside of our own church. And so the director of missions of the Duck River, he has no say-so in what we do or don't do, as well as the executive director of the Tennessee Baptist Convention, nor the president of the Southern Baptist Convention.
It's clear in Scripture that we see the networking of churches working together for the kingdom is better than us standing individually as an island, hoping we can do everything on our own. We at our church, if it was just us trying to reach with sound doctrine, we wouldn't be able to reach very far. I mean, we wouldn't. But because of IMB, because of North American Mission Board, because of those things, we're able to go out to everywhere we can.
Right. And so we have a built-in network where we can partner with missionaries around the world and send teams there.
Yep, that's right.
So it's a really cool thing. So we partner with the Southern Baptist Convention as a church, not because we have to or because we need to, because we want to. And so, and some of the basic beliefs that we share with these churches is baptism that we tend to hold, that believers' baptism, the Trinity. We believe that pastors are called in Scripture men. They're called out men. And so we hold that. Marriage is between a man and a woman. That God did create gender, male and female. Now, there's some of those basic beliefs that we know that our missionaries that we're supporting, that entities we're partnering with, have those basic beliefs. Now, you can go back and you can read the Southern Baptist,
Baptist Faith Message?
The Baptist Faith and Message 2000 edition, and get all that information about what they hold doctrinally and all that good stuff. Spilling off on.
I know, apparently.
Exhibition hall. And, but yeah, so you can go there and you can find that stuff. Now within Baptist Life, you are still, because all the churches are autonomous, there is going to be a little bit, you're going to have some Southern Baptist churches that are very, hey, we sing hymns. Mm-hmm. We do use the King James Bible. We don't think it's the only Bible, but we do use it. We just prefer it.
Yep.
And then you're going to have some who are like, they're having the rock praise band, and they're reading from the Christian Standard Bible or the ESV Bible or the New American Standard Bible or the NIV Bible. And so you're going to have still that wide variety of difference. You're going to have some that are Calvinistic and some who are not Calvinistic.
Right.
And you're going to have some in the middle there. And so there is still some differences between each SBC church, but there is that common Baptist faith and message that we all kind of share in common to kind of keep us working on the same page so we can have confidence of what the missionaries we're supporting, what they're teaching, and what they're building into the lives of the people around them. And so, yeah, that's kind of a snapshot of Baptist life. Like I said, man, we can't even begin. We didn't even touch on Missionary Baptist, Primitive Baptist.
ABCUS, so many.
Yeah, you have the General Baptist Convention that's been turned to Converge. You got all sorts of different Baptist versions out there.
Strange things.
You can Google that and find a lot of those resources online. Go to those specific websites. You can go to sbc.net and find all you want there as well. And but yeah, you got anything you want to add about Baptist life?
No, not really. I mean, you touched on most. To sit there and tell you what could be different about every single Baptist church would be ridiculous. Like the way they do the Lord's Supper, how they, do baby dedication, all that could be different. You just know that generally, most everything we've talked about through this series, a lot of times what you'll see is not every church is going to look exactly the same, except for a few.
Right.
The Catholics, the Episcopals, they're usually going to be pretty across the board. Lutherans, across the board. Anglicans, across the board. Any real orthodoxy kind of church. But us, most of, the Protestant denominations, pretty autonomous.
Right. And so especially Baptists. Baptists are very autonomous. And so they were very different church to church.
Yep.
All right. Well, that concludes this episode. And I think this concludes our
What's the difference?
Series on What's the Difference.
Yep.
So next time you hear us, it'll be a different topic. You may be excited about that. You may not be. And
we're not sure.
Until next time, I'm Jason.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are
the Baptist Boys.
The best ones.
Sound doctrine.
Dripping with validity.
That was horrible.